Alrighty, so yeah, we're about 48 hours away from kickoff. The Cleveland Browns versus the Houston Texans. 4:30 kickoff start Saturday, January 13th. We're sitting here today, Thursday, so we're about 48 hours away from kickoff, and I have all kinds of different feelings running through my veins, bumping through my veins. I'm scared, nervous, excited, optimistic. You name it, it is pumping through the body as we speak. And I'm sure you can relate if you're a Browns fan or a Texans fan even, just because there's so much going into this game that is different from the last time these two teams met. You got guys playing who weren't playing. You have maybe some new injury news that is a little bit surprising that developed today that we'll talk about. But in this video, man, we're going to talk about the 5 things I believe the Cleveland Browns have to do to come out of this game here victorious. And if you agree with me, let me know down in the comment sections if there's something that, you think that I missed that you would like to add. Let me know down in the comment sections. But yeah, man, let's get into the video and let's do this. All right, so let's start on the defensive side of the ball here. This is where the Browns make their money. I know Joe Flacco's played out of his mind the last 5 weeks or so. The offense has looked a lot better since he's taken over. But on the defensive side of the ball, this is where the Browns really do make their money. This is their identity. They play great defense, and they're going to play well enough on offense, to beat you, hopefully. But the defensive side of the ball is key. And I'll start off by talking about, real quick, 2 guys. Grant Delpit, he was officially ruled out today. He just came off of the IR, which, yes, is great. He came off the IR, which means there's optimistic, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he has to play. It just means that within 28 days, I believe, of coming off the IR, within 28 days, he has to at least play in 1 game before going on the season-ending injured reserve list. But in this case, that really doesn't count for the Browns because obviously it's a winner-go-home scenario. And 28 days from now, we should definitely find out if Delpit's going to be good to go or if we're going to sideline him for the rest of the season. But good news here is Delpit did come off the IR. He did even practice on Wednesday, which was yesterday, but he is not going to go in this one on Saturday. And it's weird to say, but I'm not too concerned. Guys like Hickman, Bell, these guys have really stepped up as far as that safety position goes. And it's almost like, and I hate to say this, it's almost like we haven't even noticed Grant Delpit has been gone, if that makes sense. Obviously, as a Browns fan and a diehard like myself, I know he's on the IR, but it's not really showing up come Sundays when the Browns are playing. That defense has been stout, especially in that back half towards that safety spot. And another guy, I'll bring up again, Ronnie Hickman's just been incredible, filling in. DeAnthony Bell, who's an undrafted guy, he's been incredible. So I'm not too concerned there. Plus, they've been without Grant Delpit now for over 4 weeks. And the defense really hasn't skipped a beat. The second guy we're going to talk about is Denzel Ward. And this one's a little bit more concerning just because of the identity of that Browns defense. They're going to press man. They're going to, bump you at the line. They're going to bring pressure with their edge rush. And it's on the corners to make plays, in man coverage a lot of times. So Denzel Ward, today, I guess, hurt his knee, out of reports from Berea, and he is now questionable for the game on Saturday. And there's somewhat mixed reports out there. We got some guys, some top-level beat writers talking about how he'll be fine and he'll be good to go. And then there's some reporters and some guys who are a little bit closer to the team and in the locker room, a couple days a week who were a little bit more concerned, I guess you could say. So that's one we want to watch. Losing Denzel Ward would hurt. Obviously, Greg Newsome would move over to the number 1 or 2 quarter with, MJ Emerson. But to me, when this Browns defense is an absolute juggernaut, you got Newsome in the slot, Emerson outside, Ward on the outside, and that's when you're really a well-oiled machine. I've seen Greg Newsome really struggle when he's playing outside corner against a team's number 1. But hopefully we won't have to go there because Denzel Ward's going to be just fine and he's going to play. But keep an eye out on that one. But yeah, let's talk more about the defensive side of the ball, injuries aside. We're going to have to make it tough on C.J. Stroud. So my number 1 takeaway is C.J. Stroud, I believe, is a bottom 5 quarterback in all of football, according to PFF, when he is under pressure. When he's not under pressure, ironically, he is within the top 3 of the best quarterbacks in football when he's not under pressure. I really do trust Jim Schwartz to to make this a hard day for CJ Stroud. If CJ Stroud's going to beat us, I really need it to be, one of those cases where you just tip your cap. He was better than us on this day. But you got to make it hard for him. Obviously you're going to have Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett out there as your edge rushers. We got Okoronkwo back this week, who's another guy who played terrific this season. He kind of went under the radar, but he's back this week. We're getting one of our defensive tackles back this week in Shelby Harris. So that's a good thing. So getting to the quarterback is going to be key. And obviously a healthy Denzel Ward will definitely be key as well, because when you're getting to the quarterback and you're making the quarterback get rid of that ball quickly, quick reads, which is really what CJ Stroud's going to have to do this week, I truly believe. Jim Schwartz is going to make it hard, really hard on him with a ton of pressure. And it's going to be on those corners who are going to be playing that, press man-to-man to really, really stick with those guys and, shut down those receivers, because CJ Stroud's going to be looking to get rid of that ball real quick. One key note I will have is it does look like the Texans are going to have a full list of receivers this week. They've been without Brown and Robert Woods the last few weeks. Those guys look like they're going to be able to go. Tank Dell's still out. So they're going to have more weapons, right? You're going to have CJ Stroud. You're going to have 2 more receivers compared to what you had last week. But I do think the Browns are in a good spot defensively. As far as a matchup goes, is to getting pressure on the quarterback, press bumping those receivers, and hopefully not letting Nico Collins have an absolute field day off of you. But again, I trust Jim Schwartz and this defense to make it really hard on CJ Stroud. And if the Texans end up winning the game, I want it to be one of those instances where it's like, okay, well, CJ Stroud was just better than you. We had a good matchup. We had a good game plan, but he just got the better of you today. So hopefully that's not what we see, because we do want to see a Browns win. But yeah, that defensive side of the ball to me is key as far as getting pressure on the quarterback. Because again, CJ Stroud, a bottom 5 quarterback in all of football, according to Pro Football Focus, as far as playing under pressure. So that's key. Let's get to number 2. All right, so number 2 is something that I don't think a lot of people are going to be talking about, because Flacco's playing out of his mind, throwing the ball 40 plus times a game, 300 plus yard games, out the wazoo. The receivers have looked better. Cooper, Njoku's come. I mean, saying Njoku's come on is an understatement. Njoku has turned himself into one of the better tight ends in the league with the emergence of Flacco. But one thing not a lot of people I think are talking about with this Browns team is the running game. And the lack thereof a running game for this Browns offense. And I think that's going to have to change heading into this playoff. I'm not saying that we need to run for 100 plus yards. I don't think that's realistic, but we have to make teams respect our run game, because that's only going to help the passing game. That's only going to help Flacco. That's only going to help the play action game, which Flacco has been really magnificent in since he's arrived here in Cleveland. So I'm looking for, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, Pierre Strong to do enough to where the Texans have to respect your running game, which will make things easier on Flacco and company and Stefanski when he's drawing up those play actions, whatever it may be. But I would like to see a better running effort out of the offense this week. They did do a better job against the Jets, which was really their last real regular season game. So that was encouraging. Anything you can get out of that run game is really, really going to open it up for you as far as the passing game goes. And I just want to take a look real quick here. All right, so bringing up Jerome Ford's numbers here, you guys can see we're not really going to count that Cincy game. He got a couple carries there just because he kind of had to due to Pierre Strong kind of coming down with an injury at one point of that ball game. The Jets game was definitely a little bit of a bright spot. We definitely ran the ball better against the Jets, which you see, you got the 12 attempts for 64 yards, coming out at about 5.3 yards a carry. If you're going to get that this Saturday against Houston, I don't see a scenario where the Browns lose. And we're just talking 65 yards out of your halfback, which is no slouch in today's game. But you see here against Houston, the last time we faced him, he had 15 carries for 25 yards with under 2 yards a carry. The Chicago game, 8 carries for 20 yards, 2.5 yards a carry. These numbers here can't happen come playoff time. If you're really expecting, Joe Flacco in this offense to open it up. Now, can Joe Flacco in this offense still open it up with no running game? I mean, we've seen it happen a couple times. It's a different scenario. It's playoff time. We're on the road. I want to see us run the ball efficiently, because it's only going to bring better things to this offense. But I wanted to give you guys a little peek here at what we were looking like per game. It's kind of been abysmal. and it's not really been talked about because of how good Flacco's been playing. But I really do think we need to run the ball, at least be respected on the ground in this Texans game to really have as much success as I think we can have. Let's get to number 3. All right, so number 3, I'm going to talk about the turnovers on the offensive side of the ball, obviously, with Joe Flacco and this new like air raid offense we're under. And I get we're going to have turnovers, you're going to have the interceptions here and there when you're just taking shots downfield, you're throwing the ball 40 plus times a game. But we're in the playoffs now. It's playoff time. It's a little bit concerning with the amount of turnovers we've had. Now, I do think the numbers are a little bit inflated. You had a couple interceptions that really weren't on Flacco. 2 of them that I can just perfectly paint on Cedric Tillman himself. One where he just ran the wrong route where he would have been butt naked in the end zone for a touchdown. It was actually a beautiful throw if you go back and look at it. So it's hard to count that one against him. And then he had one before halftime against Houston where we didn't have a kicker. It's 4th and long before half, and we kind of just threw one into the end zone instead of being able to kick a field goal. That's something he can't really help. So there are a couple interceptions that are really that really don't tell the full story. But at the same token, we've watched enough Joe Flacco through these 5-6 weeks to know that, he's going to take chances. He's going to take risks, which is fine. That comes with throwing the ball 40 plus times a game. I just think there's times and places where to do it. Turning the ball over, throwing interceptions in your own territory on the road in a playoff game just cannot happen. And again, the Browns have just been real susceptible to the turnover, man. They lead the NFL in turnovers down the stretch here in the last 5 or 6 weeks. And it's just not a good recipe as far as playoff football goes. So I get it. You might have an interception here or there. You're throwing the ball so much. You're taking shots downfield. That's going to happen. You also have a defense who can bail you out at times. But now we're into the playoffs, and those things might have worked against the Bears or against Jacksonville or against the Jets. But it's just, for me, it's going to be tough to overcome, turnovers, especially on your own side of the field when you're facing, a Houston Texans team with C.J. Stroud on the road come playoff time. So that's just something I want to keep an eye on moving forward. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let's get to number 4. That's terrible math. Let's get to number 4. All right, so number 4, we're going to talk about this position here, and that is the wide receivers. And who's going to be the guy to step up? Who's going to be the guy that Flacco can lean on? Let's say if Amari Cooper is seeing double teams, if Amari Cooper is being shadowed over the top by a safety, whatever it may be. You could call me crazy, but I don't think Amari Cooper is going to go for 265 this week against Houston. I really do believe Houston is going to make it a point of emphasis for somebody else not named Amari Cooper to beat you. And, who's going to be a receiver who's going to step up this week? Obviously, David Njoku, to me, he's going to be that guy, especially on the underneath routes, on the checkdowns. He's going to be that guy, and I think we know that. But I'm strictly talking about the wide receiver group. We know Cedric Tillman's going to miss this week due to the concussion. I mean, Flacco have been a little bit offbeat anyways. Cedric Tillman, obviously a rookie, young kid. He's learning, right? This is the first time through the ringer for him. And shoot me in the arm for saying this, but it's almost like, man, I wish we had Donovan Peoples-Jones, at this point, because he just seems so reliable. He wasn't going to kill you. He wasn't going to go for, 6 catches, 85 plus yards and a touchdown, but he was just reliable. He was a 3rd, 4th, string kind of guy on the depth chart who was just reliable to have. And I think he would be a good guy to have go against this Houston defense this week, but he's not here. So let's move on. The guy I'm going to highlight here is Elijah Moore. Obviously, he's number 2 on the depth chart. Been a little bit of a shaky year for Elijah. You can blame that on quarterback play, having 4 or 5 different quarterbacks, and the offense kind of switching schemes almost on a weekly basis, depending if it's PJ Walker, if it's, Deshaun Watson, if it's Flacco, if it's DTR. So it's kind of hard to put too much on Elijah at this point, but it was an underwhelming season for Elijah. But I'm looking for big things out of Elijah, and let's keep an eye on David Bell. David Bell's going to move up to that wide receiver 3 spot. He's in his, I believe, 2nd, 3rd year with this Browns offense. He's shown signs. He doesn't really do anything great, but to me, when he's been on the field and he's been asked to do this, to do that, he's done it. We've seen him, hit a long touchdown hit a long touchdown with Flacco earlier this year. Reports are he blocks well, he runs good routes, he makes good decisions, not many mistakes. He just doesn't do anything great. But I'm looking at David Bell, to be that guy to where if we need a catch here and there, maybe 3 catches, 35 yards, a key first down, something like that. But David Bell's been a guy who's just really been not a part of this offense, but he is going to step into that number 3 receiver role this week. Him and probably, Marquise Goodwin, depending on the package, depending on the down. But he is coming off a good week against the Bengals. 4 receptions, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. By far his best week as a Cleveland Brown. And I'm pretty sure that, having a week like that made it a little easier for that Browns coaching staff to realize, well, we're without Cedric Tillman this week. Who's going to fill into that number 3 position? And what better way for David Bell to have a pretty good game by his standards against Cincinnati last week with Jeff Driscoll, to be like, hey, I can be that guy for you. But David Bell, Elijah Moore, I'm looking for them to, combine somewhere near 80 yards total for the game. Come up with some key third down receptions for you when, Amari seeing double teams or Njoku's seeing double teams across the middle. These are 2 guys that are going to have to step up. So, yeah, keep an eye on Elijah Moore, David Bell, and maybe, you never know. Marquise Goodwin might have a deep ball in him this week, as him and Flacco have already taken a couple shots since Flacco's been here. But I'm going to go with David Bell, and I'm going to surprise everybody. I think David Bell comes out of this week with a touchdown grab. I think attention's going to be on everybody else, just like with the Houston Texans and Nico Collins. And I'm expecting David Bell, who's coming off a good week, to step up and have, like a 3-catch, 40 yards, 45 yards, and a touchdown, which would be a career game for him outside of last week, which was really a scrimmage. Let's move on to the last one, number 5. All right, so number 5 is it might be a little bit corny to some of you, but to me, it's embrace that road dog mentality. Let's be honest here. The Browns are probably going to play road games for the remainder of the playoffs here, and it's not going to be easy. You end up winning this game against the Texans, which is a coin flip, on a lot of books. Browns slight favorites. Then you're going to Baltimore to face maybe the best football team in the world right now. You're going to have to embrace this road dog mentality, and I think it starts this Saturday. I'm under the firm belief if the Browns can somehow find a way to beat this Texans team, I do believe that the Browns can make a Super Bowl run, but it starts with this week. Everybody wants to talk about, the Flacco moving to Baltimore in his return, Browns versus Ravens in Baltimore in the second week of the playoffs. I don't even want to think about all that, because I do think that this Houston Texans team is more than capable than beating this Browns team. And I think that goes without said. So embrace that, that road dog mentality, play tough, play hard, play fast on defense, try to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to run the ball on the road, open things up for your offense. So yeah, number 5, we're talking about embrace that road dog mentality. We're kind of taking all the 4 things we talked about previously, wrapping it up into a, a 5th point and kind of being like, embrace it. You're almost playing with house money. Nobody expected you to be here, but you're here. And, you're 2 games away from playing in an AFC championship game. And I really do think this Browns team can do it. I'm not going to lie to you. When Deshaun Watson went down after that Ravens game, we beat the Ravens on that Sunday, best win of the season. Deshaun Watson played perfect football in that second half. I woke up Monday thinking Super Bowl. I woke up just with all the energy in the world. Like, wow, this Browns team could be for real. You walked in there, you beat Baltimore, and then hours later you hear that, Deshaun Watson's going to miss the rest of the season. And I'm not going to lie, I was one of those people like, man, like, can we catch a break? This season is over. Yeah, we could still get to the playoffs, but like, really, what are we going to do in the playoffs with, DTR or, whether it's PJ Walker? Yeah, we might make it there, but that bus has to stop at some point, and I don't feel that way currently with this Browns team. Not if Flacco keeps playing the way he is. One crazy stat before I let you guys go. Joe Flacco, 6-0 in wild card weekend games. He's also one win away, one road win away in these playoffs from passing Tom Brady is most road wins in playoff history. So a lot to play for him. This isn't his first rodeo. And I expect him to lead this team and come out of this Saturday with a victory. I'm not feeling comfortable about it. I think it ends up being like a 24-21, a 23-20 kind of game, just like Vegas is showing you with that 2.5, 3-point spread. But I'm excited. And I'm not taking the Texans lightly by any means. I mean, it's been a hell of a season. C.J. Stroud is easily one of the best quarterbacks in football, not to mention young quarterbacks in football, rookie quarterbacks in football. He's just one of the best quarterbacks in football. He's one of only 3 guys, another crazy stat for you. He's one of only 3 guys who has ever finished with the most passing yards in football and the least interceptions in football. Or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The most passing yards in football and the best touchdown to interception ratio in football. And the only other 2 guys were Tom Brady when he went undefeated in the perfect season, and Joe Montana in that crazy season he had in the 80s or whatever it may be before my time. But that just puts into a little perspective as to how good of a year CJ Stroud's doing. When you're in a conversation or you're in a discussion that involves Joe Montana and Tom Brady in his perfect season, you're doing something right. But hopefully Jim Schwartz and this defense has something rattled off. Like I said, CJ Stroud under pressure. He's a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. The Browns bring more pressure than anybody in football. You got Myles Garrett over there. You got Zadarius Smith. You're getting Ogbo back. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I expect it to be a close game. But I'm going to take the Browns. I'm going to take the veteran quarterback. I'm going to take the better defense. And, I guess we'll hope and pray. But I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. First video in a really long time. I do plan on posting a lot more often here moving forward as we're just freed up with our schedule and the time is right. I'd like you guys to say hi to my cat back there, Piper. Piper? Piper. Okay, she hates us. But hey, appreciate you guys for watching the video. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Comment down in the video if you want to, whether or not you'd agree, disagree with whatever I might have said from here. But yeah, let's go Browns and keep an eye out for other videos, man. Take care.